In part one of our brief camping trip to Khao Yai, despite arriving in the heat of the day, we had a lovely walk and managed to see some interesting wildlife, including muntjac, green-eared barbets and pied hornbills. I was also super fortunate to get this shot of an amazing crested serpent eagle when it suddenly surprised us over the crest of the hill. We even got to enjoy a bit of the local nightlife in the form of a pair of Malayan porcupines rumbling around the campsite whilst most people slept. In this next episode, I share with you what the following morning had to offer, and we really were in for a lot of treats. It had been quite a cool night, by tropical forest standards of course, well about 15 degrees C, which I guess shows how soft I've become after spending 16 years out here. I mean, we had sleeping bags and blankets, and I knew that I'd be warm in my long-sleeved fleecy top, except that I'd somehow managed to forget to bring my long-sleeved fleecy top. It hadn't been that bad though, and it certainly wasn't too cold to get some sleep. It was just past 6 AM and there was still no stirring from the ladies' tent though, and I was beginning to wonder if Iona had, as is often the case, kicked off all her own and her mum's covers, and the two of them were now frozen corpses that I'd have to dispose of, once I'd had a coffee and got some decent photographs of course. Luckily I didn't need to worry about that. Hello. Are we awake? Yeah, it's ready. Yeah. There it is. I'm going to get a picture of the full moon. And then the sunrise. We still can't officially have campfires in national parks because it was a bit of a disturbance and also it was attracting wildlife, just like canoe, the bear and gengarchan. But it is fine to cook up some pasta in the evenings and more importantly, to boil some water for morning coffee. Morning is the best time for most wildlife, and my plan was to watch the beautiful full moon set and the sunrise, then head away from the campsite on an easy unmarked trail over a hill to a densely forested area where nobody ever goes, and where I've heard, seen and even photographed white-handed gibbons a few times before. The last time I was there was before I acquired my D500 best buddy, a 200 to 500, which is rarely separated from the body these days. It's not just to see the gibbons, of course, but to get off the beaten track and feel that sense of adventure, that uncertainty and excitement of what you'll encounter. One time I headed over that way on a pre-sunrise bike ride a few years ago, cameraless, and I stumbled upon, though from about 100 metres away thankfully, a huge male elephant in a watering hole. He didn't see me, but I kept a distance, as there was nobody around, and I was about 3 kilometres from the campsite. Once I'd finished my coffee and made sure the ladies were up and safe, that was where I had intended going this morning, in the hope of elephants, bears, gibbons, pied hornbills, and anything else I was lucky to see. But my gibbon spotting plans changed when I saw what I thought were great hornbills nearby. I could hear the raucous cackles of pied hornbills in the trees, as well as the mournful cries of the gibbons waking up in the distance. But the movement of the large branches, even in the half-light of dawn, caught my attention. Whatever these were, they were bigger than pied hornbills or giant squirrels. I'll show you. There's one, look. Just about anyone up just before sunrise in any number of mountainous forest areas across Thailand is fairly likely to see oriental pied hornbills at some point, and almost certain to hear them. They have a very loud chattering cackle, one which rattles with gregarious excitement rather than territorial aggression. I've heard and seen pied hornbills before, the smallest of the family, and have managed with varying degrees of success to photograph them. They aren't skulking, but getting a good shot is always made a little trickier by their tendency to move their beak behind an obtrusive branch just when the perfect shot presents itself. Preferring to come out and play at the crepuscular times also means that high ISO is often a critical factor. But these weren't pied hornbills, and although I hadn't seen any like this before and didn't have my guidebook to hand, as the sun woke up and began stretching its rays to the trees before me, I was fairly sure they were wreathed hornbills. Awesome, you can hear the hornbills there, and in the distance the gibbons. I'm just about to walk over and go and sort of go over the hill. Although I'd really been looking forward to it, I decided to sacrifice my much-awaited wander over the hills in search of primates and spend the morning with these incredible wreathed hornbills instead. Besides, I did feel a bit bad at the idea of leaving the girls at the mercy of the monkey mafia. The monkey trying to steal my coffee. Huh? Oh, you're on his Ovaltine. There they are. The light's just catching the trees now. You can see them on the screen. We're moving around there. One of them's moved. It's hidden behind that branch. I'll have to move. Just got some lovely shots of it. Just a sec. Ah, there it is. Heads back up. I think they're wreathed hornbills. Wow. Wreathed hornbills are one of the larger of the species, growing up to an imposing metre in height and with females weighing up to over 3.5 kilograms. But although they kind of resemble a vulture, these winged wonders aren't interested in meat, or very rarely. Their diet is heavily fruit and berry based, but they are known to eat beetles and even small land crabs as a last resort. As the name suggests, adult wreathed hornbills have what resembles ridges or wreaths on the casque of the upper mandible, which extends partway down their huge curved beaks. Ranging from Bhutan across parts of Thailand to Cambodia and Vietnam, they are one of 13 hornbill species found in Thailand. Sadly, however, like many other hornbills and large birds, their status is now vulnerable. We were so lucky to see these charismatic creatures so close, on the doorstep of the tent as it were, and although I knew they wouldn't be there all morning once the sun gained height and strength, they did seem content to hang, stand, sit and jump around for a while, and hopefully long enough for me to get closer and get some decent shots and footage. Oh man, you can hear the gibbons in the distance, and there's a hornbill on a branch. They've moved further over there. I want to get it flying. Like all other hornbills I've been lucky to observe, these wreathed hornbills seemed very sociable, with us as well as each other. This male, probably feeling fairly full and content from his breakfast, was not bothered in the slightest by another male, and shortly afterwards a female, crash landing into the branches close to him. He didn't even appear upset when he dropped his last beakful of breakfast. How can you tell the males and females apart? Easy. The female has a blue chin pouch and a darker face, throat and back of the head, whereas the males have a bright yellow chin bar on a white face and throat, and an almost kind of reddish Titian colouring on the back of the neck and head. Here's a pair of sad but very true facts. Firstly, the world's wildlife is disappearing fast, and this is mostly because of human activity and behaviour. Second, too many people, myself now included, are unfortunately confined to urban areas for far too much of this short life. But here's something else which is important to remember. It's amazing how much wildlife there is around us if we only just stop, keep quiet and wait a while. And although I've heard a lot of people comment on how Khao Yai is just too busy now and there isn't much to see, here in and around Lam Da Kong campsite there was plenty to see. Sadly, the hornbill trees have gone quiet. And they went quiet before I could get a chance to get video of one flying. A bit unfortunate, as often happens. I was videoing and it said video cancelled. I realised the memory card was nearly full. I looked at it and I thought, don't you dare. I've been waiting for about 10 minutes on and off videoing it. The one that I could see, wondering when it was going to fly. It always looked imminent, so it was always a risk. And yeah, within the half a minute of changing the memory card, it just flew. I want to say I'm disappointed, but you can't really be disappointed when you're surrounded by this. And I guess I got a little bit of video footage of the hornbills and them making noise. Right, there's one behind me now. Behind our tent, somewhere over there. Maybe time for a wander up there. Oops, somebody thinks she's going to get attacked by a monkey, so. Once the hornbills had moved on, I redirected my attention to smaller birds. First seeing this chirpy brown shrike on and around the branches of a tree down near the river. And then spotting what, from a distance, I initially thought must be an ashy drongo or a wood swallow, which I later realised was a blue rock thrush. Is that an ashy wood swallow, is it a drongo? I see when it flies. Can't see its tail at the minute. Beautiful birds are all around us. All we have to do is give them a chance. You know, I've learned time and time again that with most birds, all you really need to do is to have an idea where they might turn up and just get there first and wait patiently. And it doesn't usually take too long before one turns up nearby. Of course, depending on the species and how used to humans they are, they might get spooked easily or take a while to warm to you. But if you give them a chance, they'll stick around and both of you will learn something about each other's behaviour. As well as being wary, many birds are naturally curious, and I really think that they can begin to actually enjoy this game of you being there watching them through the lens and trying to nail the shot. What is this curious creature? I wonder how much the birds are wondering the same thing. Touché. It's called in Thai. Men, I think, isn't it? Men. Yeah, that's the same thing. Sea urchins, men palais, because it's spiny. It's like a porcupine of the sea. It's my brave little girl. It was lovely to see one of the porcupines again, this time in daylight. How cute they are. Well, cute for something with 100 knives in its back. It was getting pretty hot, and other than the local sambar deer, the monkeys and a few other small birds in the nearby trees, I didn't expect to see much more. So it was time to take the tents down, pack up, and head out of the park and further north. But then, as we were leaving, my eagle-eyed daughter swore that a hornbill flew over us and into some trees about 100 meters away. And as usual, she was right. Watched them for a couple of minutes they stayed, and I managed to get some footage balancing the camera on a branch, and then by using Iona herself as a monopod when we caught up with the same pair a few hundred meters further down. Not ideal for video, but good enough to get some final shots of these stunning birds before we headed off. What a wonderful way to end this short but thoroughly enjoyable camping trip in the company of the Wreathed Hornbills and the other beautiful